Hi guys, tonight we're stepping into the bustling streets of 1970s Spain, where the smell of cigarettes mingles with fabric dye and ambition. Drop your city and local time in the comments. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights, maybe light a candle for that gentle glow, and let's walk together into the story of how one man's impatience changed the way the entire world gets dressed. You're standing in a cramped tailor shop in A Coruña, Spain, in 1963. The air tastes like dust and broken dreams, mixed with the sharp tang of pressing irons that haven't been cleaned since Franco took power. Your father, Antonio, hunches over a sewing machine that sounds like a dying pigeon trying to start a motorcycle. The needle punches through fabric with the rhythm of someone who's accepted that this is his life now. Stitch, stitch, stitch until his fingers cramp and his back gives out. But you're different. You're 13-year-old Amancio Ortega, and you're watching your father take 6 months to make a single jacket for some rich banker who'll probably complain about the buttons anyway. 6 months. That's longer than most people keep their New Year's resolutions, and definitely longer than anyone should wait for a piece of clothing that'll go out of style before they even pick it up. Listen to the rhythmic thump of the sewing machine, punctuated by your father's occasional frustrated sighs. Your stomach growls because lunch was 3 hours ago and consisted of bread that tasted like cardboard's disappointment. Your father looks up from his work, needle marks dotting his fingertips like tiny battle scars. "Amancio," he says, "someday you'll understand. Good things take time." You nod, but inside you're thinking, good things shouldn't take 6 months when people want them now. It's like waiting for dial-up internet to load a single photo. Technically possible, but absolutely soul-crushing. The customer who ordered this jacket has probably forgotten what season it was supposed to be for. Here's what you don't know yet. This moment of pure teenage impatience will eventually create a fashion empire worth more than the GDP of most small countries. But first, you have to survive Spanish economics class, which is somehow more boring than watching paint dry in a museum dedicated to watching paint dry. The bell above the shop door chimes, and in walks Mrs. Garcia, clutching a dress pattern like it's the Holy Grail. She wants a copy of something she saw in a Madrid magazine, but with better shoulders and in blue, not red, but not too blue. Your father nods patiently, already calculating how many months this will take. You're calculating how many customers will walk out the door while he's hunched over one dress. Notice the soft scratch of pencil on paper as your father sketches design modifications. You're learning something crucial here. People don't just want clothes. They want clothes right now. They want to see something beautiful and own it before the feeling fades. But the fashion industry in 1963 Spain moves like bureaucracy in slow motion. Everything takes forever, costs too much, and by the time it's finished, the customer has either lost interest or found something else. This is your origin story, though you don't know it yet. You're not thinking about revolutionizing global retail or creating fast fashion. You're just a kid who's tired of watching his father work so hard for so little, serving customers who have to wait so long they forget why they wanted the thing in the first place. But here's the thing about impatience. Sometimes it's not a character flaw. Sometimes it's a superpower. And you're about to spend the next 12 years learning everything there is to know about making clothes quickly, cheaply, and efficiently. Because if there's one thing you hate more than waiting, it's making other people wait. The question that will haunt you for the next decade: what if clothes could be made as fast as people could want them? You're 19 now, and you've graduated from watching your father work to actually working yourself. Congratulations, you've traded adolescent boredom for adult exhaustion. Your hands are permanently stained with fabric dye that makes you look like you've been finger painting with rainbow sadness. The year is 1969, and while everyone else your age is protesting something or growing their hair out, you're hunched over a cutting table trying to figure out how to make a dress in 2 weeks instead of 2 months. Your workplace is a small textile factory that smells like a combination of cotton dust and the tears of underpaid seamstresses. The machines here are louder than a Spanish grandmother arguing about whose paella recipe is better and about as reliable as a chocolate teapot. You're working as a shop hand, which is basically fashion industry speak for person who does everything nobody else wants to do. Listen to the constant hum of industrial sewing machines, punctuated by the occasional curse word in 3 different languages. But you're watching, always watching. You notice that the factory takes orders from boutiques in Madrid and Barcelona, then takes 3 months to fill them. 3 months! That's enough time to learn a new language, grow a moustache, or watch every customer lose interest and shop somewhere else. The boutique owners place orders for spring fashion in January and receive them in April when their customers are already thinking about summer. It's like ordering pizza and having it delivered next semester. You start asking questions that make your supervisors uncomfortable. Why does it take 6 weeks just to get the fabric? Why do the patterns have to be approved by 17 different people? Why does every design change require a committee meeting that lasts longer than most people's attention spans? The answers you get sound like corporate buzzwords had a baby with Spanish bureaucracy. That's how we've always done it, and quality takes time. And your personal favourite, young people today want everything immediately. Well, yes, guilty as charged. You do want everything immediately because immediately is when customers actually want to buy things. Here's what you're learning that will matter later. The fashion industry isn't slow because it has to be slow. It's slow because everyone's accepted that it should be slow. But acceptance and necessity are two different things, like the difference between choosing to eat cafeteria food and being forced to eat cafeteria food. Notice the soft whisper of fabric being cut by industrial scissors, sharp and precise. You start sketching your own designs during lunch breaks, not because you think you're the next Valentino, but because you're curious about something. What if you could make a dress that was fashionable right now, not fashionable 3 months ago? What if, instead of predicting what people might want next season, you could give them what they actually want this week? Your co-workers think you're either ambitious or insane. In 1969 Spain, those are basically the same thing. You're living in a country where Franco is still in power, the economy moves like molasses uphill, and suggesting that anything could be done faster is basically asking to be labelled a troublemaker. But you've inherited more than just your father's sewing skills. You've inherited his work ethic and his pride, plus something extra, an almost allergic reaction to inefficiency. Every wasted day, every delayed order, every customer who walks away because they can't get what they want when they want it, it all feels personal. You're not trying to get rich quick. You're trying to solve a problem that everyone else has decided isn't actually a problem. And problems that everyone ignores, those are usually the best business opportunities. The question burning in your mind as you fold fabric at the end of another long day: what would happen if someone actually tried to give customers what they want, when they want it? It's 1975, and you're finally ready to test your theory about speed versus tradition. You've saved up 25,000 pesetas, which is roughly equivalent to having enough money to buy a used car or start a very small revolution. You choose revolution. Your plan is simple. Open a store that sells clothes people actually want to wear, at prices they can actually afford, available when they actually want to buy them. Revolutionary concepts in Franco-era Spain, apparently. You rent a small storefront in the centre of A Coruña, on Calle Juan Flores. The space is about as glamorous as a shoebox with delusions of grandeur, narrow, poorly lit, and with a heating system that works roughly as well as a chocolate fireguard. But it has something more important than glamour. It has foot traffic. People walk by this corner every day, and every person who walks by is a potential customer who might want something new, to wear. Listen to the soft echo of footsteps on cobblestone streets outside, mixed with the distant chatter of Spanish conversations. Here's where things get interesting. You originally want to call your store Zorba, after the Anthony Quinn movie. You even have the sign made, the letterhead printed, everything ready to go. But then you discover that there's already a bar called Zorba just 2 blocks away. And in Spain, you can't have 2 businesses with the same name in the same area. It's like finding out someone else is already using your Wi-Fi password, so you need a new name, fast. You look at the letters you've already had made, Z-O-R-B-A, and you start rearranging them like you're playing the world's most expensive game of Scrabble. You try Arosa, which sounds like a medical condition. You try Roasb, which sounds like nothing in any human language. Then you land on ZARA, 4 letters, easy to pronounce in Spanish, Galician, and probably most other languages. It sounds modern, international, maybe even a little mysterious. Perfect. You hang the sign and immediately realise you've just named one of the future giants of global retail after a moment of mild panic and creative desperation. Sometimes the best business decisions happen when when you run out of other options. Notice the gentle scrape of metal against stone as you hang your new sign for the first time. Your first day of business arrives like Christmas morning, if Christmas morning made you want to throw up from nervousness. You unlock the door at 9 a.m. sharp. Arrange your small collection of women's bathrobes and lingerie, because that's what you can afford to make quickly and cheaply, and wait for customers like a spider waiting for flies. The first customer who walks in is a middle-aged woman looking for something nice but not too expensive for her daughter's wedding. She's exactly the kind of customer the traditional stores have been ignoring. Someone who wants quality but can't afford to wait 3 months or pay boutique prices. You show her a robe that would cost twice as much at a department store, but you're selling it for half the price because you made it yourself, in your own small workshop without the middlemen and markup that plague the traditional fashion industry. She buys it immediately. Cash on the counter, handshake, thank you very much, and she's gone. Your first sale takes exactly 7 minutes from door to door. It feels like winning the lottery, if the lottery was designed to validate your entire worldview about customer service and retail efficiency. But here's what you don't know yet. That simple transaction, quick, affordable, immediate satisfaction, will become the template for a business model that will eventually challenge every assumption the fashion industry has about how clothes should be made, sold, and distributed. The question that will drive everything you do next: if one customer wants this, how many more are out there waiting for someone to give them what they actually want? You're standing in your small workshop behind the store in 1976, and you've discovered something that feels like a superpower, but looks like barely controlled chaos. Your little ZARA store is actually working, not just surviving, thriving. Customers are coming back, bringing friends, asking when you'll have new items. You're selling clothes faster than you can make them, which is both the best problem to have and the most stressful problem to have. The workshop smells like cotton dust mixed with the metallic tang of sewing machine oil and your own nervous sweat. You've got 3 sewing machines now, second-hand but functional, humming away like mechanical bees in a hive made of fabric scraps and ambition. Your staff consists of your girlfriend Rosalia, who will become your wife and business partner, her sister, and 2 local women who can sew faster than you can think. Listen to the rhythmic symphony of multiple sewing machines working in harmony, creating a mechanical lullaby. Here's what you're learning. Speed isn't just about making clothes faster, it's about everything faster. Faster design, faster production, faster delivery, faster feedback from customers, faster adaptation to what they actually want. While your competitors are still planning their spring collection in October, you're making winter coats in December because it's cold outside right now and people want warm clothes right now. Your business model is starting to look like controlled pandemonium. A customer mentions she wishes you had that dress in blue instead of red. You can have it in blue next week because you're not waiting for corporate approval from some headquarters in Madrid. You just make it. A local magazine features a celebrity wearing a particular style. You can have your version in the store within days, not months, because you're not bound by the glacial pace of traditional fashion seasons. It's like being able to time travel, but instead of going backward, you're dragging the entire fashion industry forward into the present. Notice the soft scratch of pencil on paper as you sketch rapid design modifications throughout the day. But success brings its own problems, and yours are multiplying like rabbits in springtime. You're outgrowing your workshop, your storage space, your display area, and your ability to keep track of what you've sold versus what you need to make. Your inventory system consists of handwritten notes scattered across 3 different notebooks, and your accounting system is basically money comes in, money goes out, hopefully more comes in than goes out. You need more space, more machines, more people, and more organizational systems. But expansion costs money, and banks in 1970s Spain aren't exactly lining up to loan money to young entrepreneurs with radical ideas about selling clothes fast. You're basically asking them to fund your belief that customers want instant gratification, which to traditional bankers sounds like saying customers want to eat dessert before vegetables. So you do what entrepreneurs do when banks won't help. You get creative. You reinvest every peseta you make back into the business. New sewing machine, bought with last month's profits, more fabric, purchased with this week's sales. It's financial tightrope walking without a safety net, but you're getting good at balance. The real breakthrough comes when you realise something that will become central to everything ZARA does. You don't need to guess what customers want. You can just watch what they buy, then make more of that and less of everything else. Revolutionary concept, apparently. Instead of betting your entire season on fashion predictions made by people who haven't talked to an actual customer in months, you let the customers tell you directly what they want by voting with their wallets. Listen to the gentle ping of your cash register, becoming more frequent as word spreads about your store. Your competitors are still operating like fashion prophets, declaring what will be popular 6 months from now, based on intuition, tradition, and whatever Paris Fashion Weeks decided was important. You're operating like a scientist, collecting data every day about what people actually buy versus what they ignore, then adjusting accordingly. It's the difference between predicting the weather and just looking outside to see if it's raining. The question that keeps you up at night surrounded by fabric samples and sketches. If this works for one store in A Coruña, could it work for 10 stores? Could it work for 100? It's 1977, and you're about to learn that growth and growing pains are basically the same thing wearing different outfits. Your single store has become so successful that you're literally running out of room to fit customers, like trying to stuff a family reunion into a phone booth. The line outside your shop on weekends looks like people waiting for concert tickets, except instead of rock stars, they're hoping to buy affordable dresses that won't take 3 months to order. You've made a decision that feels equal parts brilliant and terrifying. Open a second store. Not in A Coruña, where you know every street corner and half the customers by name, but in Madrid. Madrid, where the competition includes established boutiques that have been serving rich customers since before you were born, and where nobody knows who you are or why they should care. Listen to the distant rumble of traffic and construction, the sound of a city that never quite stops moving. Madrid in the late 1970s is like diving into the deep end of a swimming pool when you've only ever waded in the shallow end. The rent is higher, the customers more sophisticated, the competition fiercer. Your first Madrid location is in the Malasaña neighbourhood, an area that's trendy in the way that only places with enough art students and young professionals can be trendy. It's the perfect testing ground for whether your A Coruña magic can work in the real world. But here's the problem. Madrid customers have different tastes than A Coruña customers. They want more variety, more fashion-forward designs, more options that make them feel connected to international trends rather than provincial Spanish fashion. Your simple bathrobes and basic dresses, your bread and butter in A Coruña, suddenly feel like bringing a knife to a gunfight. So you adapt. Fast. You start paying attention to what people are wearing in Madrid's cafes and clubs, what magazines they're reading, what movies they're watching. You realise that fashion isn't just about clothes. It's about identity, aspiration, and belonging. People don't just want to look good, they want to look like they understand what good means in their specific world. Notice the soft rustle of fashion magazines being flipped through as you research trends and styles. This is where your speed advantage becomes crucial. Traditional fashion retailers plan their collections months in advance, based on predictions about what will be popular in the future. But you can respond to what's popular right now. When Madrid women start wearing wider belts, you can have wider belts in your store within a week. When they shift toward darker colours, you shift with them. When they want something that looks like what celebrities are wearing, you can give them that look at a fraction of the price. You're becoming a fashion chameleon, adapting to each environment faster than your competitors can even recognise the changes happening around them. But adaptation requires more than just flexibility. It requires infrastructure. You need a supply chain that can respond to changes in demand within days, not months. You need manufacturers who can handle small batches of new designs rather than massive runs of the same item. You need a distribution system that can get new inventory from your workshop to your stores faster than traditional retailers can even approve design changes. Listen to the mechanical sounds of delivery trucks loading and unloading outside your expanded workshop. This is when you start developing what will become known as vertical integration, though at the time you just call it doing everything ourselves because we can't wait for other people. Instead of relying on separate companies for design, manufacturing and distribution, you bring all those functions in-house. It costs more up front, but it gives you something more valuable than money. Control over timing. Your Madrid store opens on a Thursday in October 1977. By Saturday there's a line outside. By the following Thursday, you're already planning modifications to the layout based on how customers move through the space and what they seem to gravitate toward. Success in Madrid validates something crucial. Your model isn't just about serving customers in small Spanish towns. It's about understanding something fundamental about how people want to shop in the modern world. They want choices, they want speed, they want to feel fashionable without spending a fortune, and they want to be able to express their personality through what they wear. The question that emerges from your Madrid success: if this works in 2 cities, how many cities could it work in? By 1979, you're operating 4 stores, and discovering that running multiple locations is like trying to conduct an orchestra, where half the musicians are in different buildings and nobody has the same sheet music. Your original workshop in A Coruña is now bursting at the seams, literally. You've got fabric stacked to the ceiling and sewing machines crammed into every corner like someone playing the world's most expensive game of Tetris. You're standing in what used to be a storage closet, but is now somehow your design department, surrounded by sketches, fabric samples, and the kind of creative chaos that would make Marie Kondo weep. The air tastes like cotton dust mixed with coffee that's been reheated so many times it could probably dissolve steel. Your team has grown to 15 people, which means you now spend more time coordinating between workers than actually making clothes. Listen to the layered sounds of multiple conversations in Spanish and Galician, punctuated by the constant background hum of industrial equipment. Here's what nobody tells you about business growth. Every problem you solve creates 3 new problems you didn't know existed. You figured out how to make clothes quickly. Great. Now you need to figure out how to make a lot of clothes quickly. You figured out how to respond to customer demand? Fantastic. Now you need to figure out how to predict demand across multiple locations with different customer bases. Your biggest challenge isn't making clothes anymore, it's information. How do you know what's selling in Madrid when you're standing in A Coruña? How do you track inventory across 4 locations when your system is still, basically, look around and see what's missing? How do you coordinate restocking when your delivery system consists of your brother-in-law driving a van between cities? This is 1979, remember. No computers, no internet, no instant communication. Information travels at the speed of telephone calls and handwritten reports that get mailed between stores. You're trying to run a fast fashion business using communication technology that moves slower than traditional fashion. Notice the persistent ring of rotary phones and the scratch of pen on paper as managers try to coordinate across distances. But you're learning something that will become central to ZARA's eventual global dominance. Information is more valuable than inventory. Knowing what customers want, where they want it, and when they want it is worth more than having lots of stuff that sits on shelves because it's the wrong stuff in the wrong place at the wrong time. So you start developing systems, simple ones, because simple systems can be followed by tired people working long hours. Every store manager calls the workshop every Tuesday and Friday to report what's selling fast, what's moving slowly, and what customers are asking for that you don't have. You keep notebooks tracking which designs work in which cities and which seasons. You start to see patterns. Madrid customers like more sophisticated cuts. A Coruña customers prefer practical comfort. Valencia customers want brighter colours. Barcelona customers buy more experimental styles. It's like having a masterclass in regional psychology disguised as retail data. This information becomes your competitive advantage. While your competitors are guessing what people might want next season, you're responding to what people are actually buying this week. While they're stuck with inventory decisions made months ago, you're adjusting your production in real time based on actual sales data. Listen to the soft shuffle of order forms being sorted and the mechanical click of adding machines calculating daily sales figures. You're also learning about the emotional side of running a business. Growth is exhilarating and exhausting in equal measure. Every new store that succeeds feels like validation that your ideas about fashion and customer service are correct. But every operational challenge that emerges feels like a personal failure, even when it's really just growing pains. The stress is starting to show. You're working 7 days a week, sleeping 5 hours a night, and drinking enough coffee to keep a small army awake. Rosalia is managing the administrative side while pregnant with your first child, which means you're literally building your family and your business at the same time. But you're also seeing something magical happen. Your team is starting to understand your vision without you having to explain it. They're beginning to anticipate what customers want, respond to market changes, and solve problems independently. You're not just running a business anymore, you're building a culture. The question that drives you as you expand beyond Spain's borders: if this works in Spanish cities, Could it work anywhere? Your success in Spanish cities has created a problem that feels like winning the lottery and then discovering you have to pay taxes in 17 different currencies. By 1984, you're running 12 stores across Spain, and each location is generating more data about customer preferences than you know what to do with. You're standing in your expanded headquarters in A Coruña, surrounded by reports that look like someone threw alphabet soup at a wall and called it market research. The air smells like ambition mixed with the faint scent of fabric softener and the lingering aroma of the coffee that's been reheated so many times it could probably etch glass. Your team has grown to over 200 people, which means you now spend more time in meetings than actually making clothes. It's like being a conductor of an orchestra where half the musicians speak different languages and nobody has the same sheet music. Listen to the overlapping sounds of telephone conversations in Spanish, Galician, and the occasional frustrated English as you try to coordinate international suppliers. But here's the thing about success. It creates its own gravity. Other retailers are starting to notice what you're doing. Traditional fashion houses are sending spies, actual people pretending to be customers, to figure out how you're turning around new designs so quickly. You've accidentally started a revolution in an industry that changes about as fast as geological formations, and everyone wants to know your secret. Your secret isn't actually that secret. Listen to customers, make what they want, get it to them quickly, don't overthink it. But somehow, this philosophy is revolutionary in an industry where designers still think they should dictate what people wear 6 months in advance, like fashion prophets predicting trends from their ivory towers of creative superiority. The international opportunity arrives disguised as a phone call from Portugal. A potential partner wants to open a ZARA store in Porto, using your designs and your system but their local knowledge. It's like someone asking if they can franchise your personal diary. Exciting and terrifying in equal measure. Notice the soft scratch of pencil on paper as you sketch out international expansion scenarios on napkins during lunch meetings. Portugal makes sense as your first international test. It's close enough that you can drive there to check on things, culturally similar enough that your Spanish sensibilities won't seem completely alien, but different enough to teach you whether your model works outside your comfort zone. It's the perfect training wheels for global expansion. But international expansion means international problems. Currency exchange rates that fluctuate like a yo-yo in an earthquake. Import duties that change based on political moods. Language barriers that turn simple conversations into elaborate games of charades. Shipping logistics that make you nostalgic for the days when your biggest worry was getting inventory between A Coruña and Madrid. You're also discovering something that will become central to ZARA's global strategy. Every country has different fashion preferences, but the underlying desire for affordable, fashionable, quickly available clothing is universal. Portuguese women want the same thing Spanish women want. They just want it in different colours, with different cuts, and available during different seasons. The Porto store opens in November 1988, and you spend the entire first week calling the manager twice a day, like an anxious parent checking on a teenager's first job. The reports are encouraging. Customers are coming, they're buying, and they're asking when new inventory will arrive. You've just proven that your model works outside Spain. Listen to the distant sound of ocean waves, reminding you that you're now operating in multiple countries separated by water and bureaucracy. Success in Portugal leads to conversations about France, which leads to conversations about the rest of Europe, which leads to late-night planning sessions where you and your team stare at maps like generals planning a very fashionable invasion. Each new country represents hundreds of new variables, different labour laws, different customer preferences, different competitors who've never heard of fast fashion and might not appreciate the competition. But you're also starting to see the bigger picture. If this works in Portugal and Spain, it could work anywhere people want to look fashionable without waiting months or spending fortunes. You're not just expanding a business anymore, you're testing a theory about human nature and consumer behaviour on an international scale. The question that keeps you up at night staring at ceiling while planning supply chains. How many countries could possibly want what you're offering? It's 1989, and you're about to learn that international expansion is like learning to juggle while riding a bicycle, blindfolded, on a tightrope, during an earthquake. Your success in Portugal has created demand for ZARA stores across Europe, but demand and capability are two different things. Like the difference between wanting to speak French and actually speaking French without accidentally ordering roasted children instead of roasted chicken. You're standing in the first French ZARA location in Paris, watching customers browse through your designs while speaking rapid French that sounds like sophisticated criticism, even when they're probably just asking about sizes. The store is located in the heart of Paris, surrounded by boutiques that have been serving French fashionistas since before your great-grandfather learned to use scissors. Listen to the melodic sound of French conversations mixed with the soft rustle of fabric as customers examine your designs with typical French skepticism. France is your biggest test yet. The French don't just buy clothes, they have opinions about clothes, strong opinions that they're not shy about sharing. French fashion is serious business, taken as seriously as wine, cheese, and complaining about tourists. Walking into the French market with Spanish fast fashion is like showing up to a wine tasting with a bottle of $2 Chuck. Technically wine, but prepared for some raised eyebrows. But you're learning something crucial about French customers. Underneath all that sophisticated skepticism, they want the same things everyone wants. They want to look good, they want options, they want quality, and they want it all without having to take out a second mortgage. Your affordable alternatives to high-end French fashion are attracting lines of customers who've been priced out of traditional Parisian boutiques. The French fashion press, however, is less enthusiastic. They're treating your arrival like a cultural invasion, writing articles about the threat of fast fashion and the death of French style. It's like being accused of vandalism for teaching people how to paint their own houses instead of hiring expensive artists. Notice the soft clacking of typewriter keys from fashion journalists frantically writing critiques of your business model. Your French expansion teaches you something that will become central to ZARA's international strategy. Every market requires adaptation, but not compromise. French customers want more sophisticated cuts, more neutral colours, more pieces that can be mixed and matched for that effortlessly chic Parisian look. But they still want them quickly and affordably, so you adapt your designs for French tastes while maintaining your core principles of speed and affordability. It's like learning to speak a new dialect of the same language. The fundamental communication remains the same, but the accent changes. The French stores succeed despite the critics. Or maybe because of the critics. Nothing drives French consumer behaviour quite like the opportunity to prove cultural commentators wrong. Within 6 months, you're opening a second Parisian location and planning expansion to other French cities. But success in France creates new problems. Your supply chain, designed for Spanish and Portuguese markets, is now stretching across multiple countries with different regulations, different seasonal patterns, and different customer expectations. You need inventory management systems that can track what's selling in Paris versus what's selling in Porto, and you need them updated in real time. Listen to the mechanical sounds of early computer systems processing inventory data, mixed with the frustrated sighs of employees learning new technology. This is when you start investing seriously in information technology, though in 1989 that mostly means computers that take up entire rooms and require their own air conditioning systems. You're building systems to track sales, inventory, and customer preferences across multiple countries, creating the foundation for what will eventually become one of the most sophisticated retail information networks in the world. Your technology investments pay off almost immediately. You can now see within days that French customers prefer darker colours in autumn, while Spanish customers are still buying summer brights well into October. Portuguese customers buy more casual wear, while Parisian customers lean toward pieces that can transition from day to evening. This information lets you adjust your production and distribution in real time, giving each market what it actually wants instead of what you think it should want. But the most important thing you're learning is about scale. The more stores you operate, the more data you collect. The more data you collect, the better you understand customer preferences. The better you understand preferences, the more efficiently you can produce and distribute inventory. It's a virtuous cycle that makes each new store more successful than the last. The question that's starting to obsess you as you plan further European expansion: if this works in France, what other impossible markets might be possible? By 1991, you're operating across 5 countries and discovering that international retail is like conducting an orchestra, where every musician is in a different time zone playing a different song. Your European expansion has been successful beyond your wildest projections, but success has brought complications that make your early days of running a single store seem as simple as making toast. You're sitting in your A Coruña headquarters at 2 a.m. surrounded by financial reports from 5 different countries, each with their own currency, tax laws, and regulatory requirements. The coffee has given up pretending to be energizing and settled into just being bitter, much like your relationship with international accounting standards. Listen to the persistent hum of fax machines receiving overnight reports from stores across Europe, creating a mechanical symphony of international commerce. The numbers tell a story that's both thrilling and terrifying. Your stores in France are consistently outperforming projections. Portugal continues to grow steadily. But expansion into Belgium and the Netherlands has revealed new challenges that nobody warned you about in business school. Probably because business schools in the 1990s were still teaching retail strategies based on annual fashion cycles and seasonal buying patterns. Belgian customers, it turns out, have very specific preferences about fabric weight and seasonal timing that differ from both French and Spanish tastes. Dutch customers want more practical, weather-resistant options because their climate doesn't cooperate with Mediterranean fashion sensibilities. Each market is teaching you that European customers is about as useful a generalization as people who breathe air prefer the same food. Your supply chain is starting to resemble a complex mathematical equation where changing one variable affects everything else. Increasing production for Belgian preferences means potentially having excess inventory in Spain. Adjusting seasonal timing for Dutch weather patterns means rethinking your entire production schedule. It's like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while blindfolded, underwater, with your hands tied behind your back. Notice the soft scratching of pencils on paper as your team draws increasingly complex flow charts showing inventory movement between countries. But you're also discovering the power of economies of scale. Producing 10,000 units of a design costs proportionally much less than producing 1,000 units. Having stores in multiple countries means you can test designs in different markets simultaneously, learning faster what works and what doesn't. Failed experiments in one country can become successes in another, like a fashion recycling program for rejected ideas. This is when you make a decision that will define Zara's future. Instead of franchising or licensing your brand to local partners, you decide to maintain direct control over every aspect of operations. It's more expensive, more complicated, and definitely more stressful, but it means you can maintain quality standards and respond to market changes without having to negotiate with partners who might have different priorities. The decision to maintain control requires massive investment in infrastructure. You need distribution centers that can serve multiple countries, information systems that can track inventory across international borders, and management teams that can coordinate between different languages, currencies, and legal systems. You're essentially building a multinational corporation from scratch, learning international business through trial and error, like teaching yourself to fly while already airborne. Listen to the overlapping sounds of multiple phone conversations in different languages as your team coordinates international logistics. Your European expansion also teaches you something crucial about brand identity. Customers in different countries respond to the ZARA name differently, but they all respond to the same core promise: fashionable clothes, available quickly, at reasonable prices. Your brand isn't about Spanish fashion or European style, it's about solving a universal problem that exists anywhere people want to look good without waiting months or spending fortunes. This realization changes your entire perspective on international expansion. You're not spreading Spanish fashion across Europe. You're offering a new way of thinking about clothing retail that happens to have originated in Spain. The difference is crucial because it means your model could theoretically work anywhere in the world where people buy clothes. The success of your European expansion starts attracting attention from investors who want to fund rapid international growth, consultants who want to help you optimize your global strategy, and competitors who want to figure out how to copy what you're doing. You're moving from being a successful Spanish retailer to being a case study in international fashion business. But the most important thing you're learning is about timing. The late 1980s and early 1990s represent a perfect moment for your expansion. European markets are opening up, international trade barriers are falling, and customer expectations are changing faster than traditional retailers can adapt. You're not just lucky, you're riding a wave of global change in consumer behaviour. The question that will define your next decade: if Europe is working this well, what about the rest of the world? You're standing outside a burning textile factory in Morocco in February 1993. watching 15 years of careful supply chain planning literally go up in smoke, the smell of burning. Fabric mixed with melted synthetic materials creates an acrid cloud that makes your eyes water, though that might also be from the realization that this fire could destroy everything you've built since that first little shop in A Coruña. The factory supplied nearly 40% of your basic garments, the t-shirts, simple dresses, and casual wear that formed the backbone of your inventory across 12 countries. The flames are consuming not just buildings and equipment, but months of advanced production, finished goods ready for shipment, and your entire strategy for supplying your spring collection to over 60 stores. Listen to the crackle and roar of industrial flames consuming thousands of garments, mixed with the shouting of firefighters in Arabic and the distant sirens of approaching emergency vehicles. Your phone hasn't stopped ringing since the news reached A Coruña 3 hours ago. Store managers across Europe are calling to ask about delayed shipments. Financial analysts want to know how this will affect your quarterly projections. Reporters are suddenly interested in your risky international supply chain strategy. Everyone wants answers you don't have, solutions to problems you're still calculating, reassurance about a future that currently looks as uncertain as the smoke-filled sky above you. But here's the thing about crisis. It reveals who you actually are underneath all the business planning and strategic positioning. Standing in front of this disaster, you realize that you have a choice. You can treat this as a catastrophic setback that proves international expansion was too ambitious, or you can treat it as the ultimate test of the flexibility and responsiveness that made ZARA successful in the first place. Your first instinct is the same one that drove you to start making clothes faster in your father's tailor shop. When something takes too long or breaks down, fix it by doing it differently. The traditional fashion industry would handle this crisis by explaining to customers why spring collections will be delayed, why prices need to increase to cover the losses, and why everyone needs to be patient while alternative suppliers are found and contracts negotiated. Notice the acrid smell of synthetic materials burning, mixing with the dust and chaos of emergency response vehicles. But you built ZARA on the principle of not making customers wait for what they want. A fire in Morocco doesn't change what European customers expect when they walk into your stores next week. They still want new inventory, fashionable options, and reasonable prices. The crisis isn't their problem, it's yours to solve. So instead of managing the crisis through traditional damage control, you decide to use it as an opportunity to test something you've been considering. Could you make ZARA's supply chain even faster and more flexible by bringing more production closer to home? The fire has just eliminated 40% of your overseas manufacturing capacity. What if you replaced it with rapid response production facilities in Spain and Portugal? This decision goes against everything the fashion industry considers economically rational. European manufacturing costs more than North African production. European labour laws are more restrictive than overseas alternatives. European facilities require higher initial investment and ongoing operational costs. Every business consultant in the world would advise you to simply find another low-cost overseas supplier. Listen to the sound of your notebook pages flipping as you sketch out rapid response production scenarios while standing in a parking lot outside a burning factory. But you're starting to see something that will become central to ZARA's competitive advantage. The cost of flexibility might be worth more than the savings from cheap manufacturing. If you can produce new designs and get them into stores within 2 weeks instead of 2 months, you can respond to customer demands, seasonal changes, and fashion trends in real time. The premium you pay for European manufacturing could be offset by the premium customers pay for getting exactly what they want when they want it. Your team thinks you've lost your mind. Rosalia, your wife and business partner, listens to your impromptu plan to revolutionize your entire production strategy and asks the question everyone is thinking. Are you sure this isn't just panic talking? It's a fair question. The smoke is still visible in the distance, your spring inventory is literally ashes, and you're proposing to fundamentally restructure your entire manufacturing strategy based on a crisis that happened 3 hours ago. But sometimes clarity comes through crisis. Standing in that Moroccan parking lot, watching your overseas production strategy burn down, you realize that the fire has just given you permission to try something that might have been too risky to attempt otherwise. You're not panicking, you're evolving. The question that will define the next chapter of ZARA's development. What if treating this crisis as an opportunity makes you stronger than you were before the fire? 3 weeks after the fire, you're standing in a converted warehouse in Galicia that smells like fresh paint, new sewing machines, and the kind of desperate ambition that comes from having your back against the wall. Your emergency manufacturing facility looks like what would happen if someone crossed a tech startup with a sweatshop and added a touch of Spanish stubbornness for flavour. The math is terrifying and exciting in equal measure. You're paying European wages to produce what you used to make in Morocco at a fraction of the cost. Your per unit costs have increased by nearly 60%, which should theoretically make your business model impossible. But you're discovering something that will revolutionise fashion retail. Speed has value that goes beyond simple cost calculations. Listen to the rhythmic hum of dozens of new sewing machines working in perfect coordination, creating a mechanical orchestra of rapid production. Your new European production facility can take a design from concept to finished garment in 8 days. 8 days. Your Moroccan suppliers required 8 weeks minimum, and that was when everything went according to plan. This means you can now respond to fashion trends while they're still trending, adjust to seasonal weather changes in real time, and most importantly, give customers what they want when they want it instead of what you predicted they might want 3 months ago. The first test comes when one of your Madrid store managers calls to report that customers are asking for lighter jackets because the weather turned warmer than expected in early April. Under your old system, this would be filed under unfortunate seasonal miscalculation and chalked up to the mysteries of weather prediction. Under your new system, you can design, produce, and deliver lighter jackets to Madrid within 10 days. When the lighter jackets hit the Madrid store, they sell out in 2 days. Customers don't just buy them, they ask when more will arrive, what other colours are available, and whether similar styles will be coming soon. You've accidentally created something that didn't exist in fashion retail: instant demand satisfaction. Notice the soft scratch of pencil on paper as you calculate production costs against sales velocity, discovering that faster turnover can justify higher manufacturing costs. But the real breakthrough comes when you start analysing sales data from your rapid response productions. Items that you can produce and deliver quickly don't just sell well, they sell at full price. Customers are willing to pay regular retail prices for clothes that are exactly what they want, available immediately, in current styles that reflect actual weather conditions and real fashion trends. Meanwhile, items from your remaining overseas suppliers, the ones that require months of advanced planning and seasonal prediction, increasingly require markdowns to move inventory. Customers can sense when something was designed 3 months ago versus something that was designed last week. It's like the difference between fresh bread and day-old bread. Technically both are bread, but customers can tell the difference. Your European competitors are watching your post-fire strategy with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. They're waiting for you to crash and burn financially from your unsustainable high-cost production model. Industry analysts are writing reports about the ZARA experiment and predicting that paying European manufacturing costs will force you to raise prices so high that customers will shop elsewhere. They're missing the point entirely. You're not just changing where you manufacture clothes, you're changing how retail fashion works. Instead of predicting what customers will want months in advance, you're giving them what they want right now. Instead of managing inventory through seasonal clearance sales, you're managing demand through constant novelty and immediate availability. Listen to phones ringing constantly as store managers report sales data and request specific inventory adjustments, creating a real-time feedback loop between customer demand and production response. Your new production model also changes how you design clothes. When you had to predict seasonal demand months in advance, you designed conservatively, focusing on items that would appeal to the broadest possible customer base. Now that you can design and produce in real time, you can experiment with more specific, trend-focused, and even risky designs, because you're not betting your entire season on any single choice. This experimental approach leads to some spectacular failures. Designs that nobody wants, styles that look terrible in production, colours that seemed good in theory but awful in practice. But it also leads to spectacular successes, designs that become must-have items, styles that define trends rather than follow them, and colours that other retailers scramble to copy. The key insight is that rapid production makes failure less expensive and success more profitable. When you can design, produce and test a new style within 2 weeks, a failed experiment costs you 2 weeks of production time. When you're committing to seasonal production months in advance, a failed experiment can cost you an entire season's worth of inventory. The question that's starting to reshape your entire business philosophy: what if fashion retail could work more like a conversation with customers instead of a lecture to them? 6 months after the fire, you're sitting in a meeting with European fashion retail executives who've come to A Coruña to understand how you're doing what everyone said was impossible. Your conference room smells like expensive cologne mixed with the scent of curiosity and barely concealed panic from competitors who are watching their traditional business models become irrelevant. The numbers they're staring at don't make sense according to traditional fashion retail mathematics. Your production costs are higher than theirs, your manufacturing is more complex, and your operational overhead has increased dramatically. But your profits per square foot are crushing theirs, your inventory turnover is 3 times faster, and your customers are more satisfied and loyal than anyone in the industry. Listen to the soft murmur of translated conversations as international executives try to understand your rapid response production model through their interpreters. You're explaining your post-fire strategy to a room full of people who've spent their careers believing that fashion retail requires seasonal planning, advanced manufacturing, and careful inventory management. To them, your approach sounds like business suicide dressed up as innovation. Making clothes in response to current demand instead of predicted demand. Maintaining higher production costs to achieve faster turnaround times. It's like explaining to medieval physicians that washing hands might prevent infection. Technically logical, but it contradicts everything they were taught about how things work. But the most revolutionary aspect of your new model isn't the speed, it's the learning. Every week of sales data teaches you something new about customer preferences, seasonal timing, and market demands. Your stores have become research laboratories where customers vote on designs with their wallets in real time. Traditional retailers get this feedback once per season, when they calculate what sold and what didn't. You get it continuously. This constant feedback loop allows you to adjust not just inventory, but the entire design process. You learn that customers in rainy climates buy more transitional pieces that work in multiple weather conditions. Customers in sunny climates prefer separates they can mix and match for temperature changes throughout the day. Urban customers want pieces that transition from day to evening, while suburban customers prefer casual comfort with subtle style details. Notice the rhythmic sound of data being entered into early computer systems, creating the foundation for what will become sophisticated customer analytics. Your rapid response model is also changing how you think about fashion trends. Instead of trying to predict what will be fashionable 6 months from now, you can identify what's becoming fashionable right now and capitalize on it immediately. When celebrities wear something that captures public attention, you can have your version in stores within 2 weeks instead of waiting for the next season's collections. This responsiveness to immediate trends creates something that didn't exist in fashion retail before: impulse buying based on current cultural moments. Customers see something they want in a magazine or on television, walk into a ZARA store, and find something similar available immediately. It's instant gratification for fashion desires, which turns out to be incredibly profitable. The European executives in your conference room are starting to understand that you're not just doing fashion retail differently, you're doing it in a way that makes their approach seem obsolete. They're operating like farmers who plant crops in spring and harvest in fall, while you're operating like a restaurant that prepares food when customers order it. Both approaches feed people, but only one gives them exactly what they want when they want it. Your success is also creating industry-wide pressure for change. Other retailers are being forced to explain to their customers why they can't provide the same level of responsiveness and variety that ZARA offers. Fashion magazines are writing about the ZARA effect and questioning whether traditional seasonal fashion cycles still make sense for modern consumers. Listen to the sound of phones ringing as journalists call to schedule interviews about your revolutionary retail model and its impact on the global fashion industry. But perhaps the most important thing you've discovered is that the fire in Morocco didn't destroy your business. It revealed what your business could become. By forcing you to rebuild your supply chain from scratch, the crisis eliminated the incremental thinking that keeps most businesses trapped in traditional approaches. When everything was burning down anyway, you had nothing to lose by trying something completely different. The executives leave your meeting with more questions than answers. They understand that you're doing something that's working remarkably well, but they can't figure out how to adapt your model to their existing operations without dismantling everything they've built over decades. You're not just ahead of the competition, you're playing a different game entirely. The question that will define your next phase of growth: if rapid response production works this well in Europe, what happens when you take it global? It's 1995, and you're standing in front of a computer system that costs more than your first 10 stores combined, watching lines of green text scroll across black screens like some kind of digital prophecy about the future of fashion retail. The system fills an entire climate-controlled room and requires 3 full-time technicians who speak a language that sounds like Spanish mixed with mathematics and frustration. Your information revolution looks less impressive than it sounds. The computers are beige boxes connected by cables that snake across the floor like technological spaghetti, humming constantly with the sound of hard drives that overheat if you look at them wrong. But these unglamorous machines are processing something that will change everything: real-time sales data from every ZARA store in Europe, updated hourly instead of monthly. Listen to the constant whirring of cooling fans mixed with the rhythmic clicking of dot matrix printers, generating endless streams of sales reports. Before this system, understanding what customers wanted required waiting weeks for paper reports to arrive by mail, then manually calculating trends and patterns. It was like trying to navigate by looking at stars through a telescope made of fog. Now you can see, within hours, that Paris customers are buying more black blazers while Madrid customers prefer navy, that German customers want longer hemlines, while Italian customers prefer shorter cuts. This information transforms how you make decisions. Instead of relying on intuition, seasonal predictions, and educated guesses about customer preferences, you can base production decisions on actual data from actual customers making actual purchases. It's like switching from fortune-telling to scientific observation, except the subject you're studying is human fashion behavior across multiple countries. Your first major data-driven decision involves a design that's selling exceptionally well in France but poorly in Spain. Traditional fashion wisdom would suggest this is just cultural difference. French and Spanish customers have different tastes, end of story. But your data reveals something more specific. The design is selling well in French urban areas but poorly everywhere else, including Spanish cities. The pattern isn't national, it's demographic. Notice the soft scratch of pencils on graph paper as your team plots sales data to identify patterns that aren't immediately obvious. This insight leads to a breakthrough in how you distribute inventory. Instead of sending the same mix of designs to all stores in a country, you can customize each store's inventory based on the specific preferences of its local customers. Urban stores get more experimental designs, suburban stores get more conservative options, tourist-heavy locations get versatile pieces that work for multiple occasions. Customized distribution based on real data produces results that seem almost magical. Stores start selling higher percentages of their inventory at full price because they're stocked with items their specific customers actually want. Customer satisfaction increases because people can find styles that match their preferences instead of settling for whatever happens to be available. Your profit margins improve because you're not marking down unwanted inventory as aggressively. But the real revolution happens when you start using data to influence design decisions before production begins. Your system can identify emerging trends by tracking which styles are accelerating in sales versus which are declining. You can spot colour preferences shifting weeks before traditional fashion forecasting would detect the change. You can see seasonal timing variations between different climates and adjust production schedules accordingly. Listen to the mechanical sounds of early fax machines transmitting design modifications to production facilities based on real-time sales analysis. This data-driven design process produces something unprecedented in fashion retail. Clothes that customers want because they're based on what customers have already demonstrated they want, refined through continuous feedback and adjustment. Instead of guessing what might be fashionable, you're creating fashionable items based on evidence of what's already becoming fashionable. Your European competitors are beginning to realize they have a problem. Not only are you producing clothes faster and responding to trends more quickly, but you're also making better decisions about what to produce because you have better information about customer behavior. They're flying blind while you're using radar, GPS, and weather forecasting combined. Some try to copy your technology approach, but they discover that information systems require more than just buying computers. You've spent 2 years training your team to interpret data, adjust processes based on findings, and make rapid decisions based on incomplete information. Your competitive advantage isn't just the technology, it's the organizational ability to use technology effectively. The data also reveals something fascinating about customer behavior that changes how you think about fashion retail entirely. Customers don't just want clothes, they want novelty. They return to stores not because they need more clothes, but because they want to see what's new. The frequency of inventory updates matters as much as the quality of individual items. This insight leads to a strategy that will become central to ZARA's global success, treating stores less like warehouses that hold inventory and more like theatres that present constantly changing shows. Customers don't just shop at ZARA, they visit ZARA to see what's new since their last visit. The question that's starting to reshape your entire approach to international expansion: if data can reveal this much about customer behaviour in Europe, what could it teach you about customers everywhere else? Your technology revolution hits its stride in 1997, when you realise that information isn't just about understanding what customers want, it's about predicting what they'll want before they know they want it. You're standing in your expanded data centre, watching real-time sales information flow in from 47 stores across 8 countries, creating patterns that look like a fashion-focused stock market ticker. The screens now display more than just sales numbers. They show weather patterns, local events, economic indicators, and cultural trends that might influence customer behaviour. You're correlating rainfall data with raincoat sales, tracking celebrity appearances with similar style purchases, and analysing local festivals to predict demand for dressy casual wear. It's like being a meteorologist for human fashion desires. Listen to the constant hum of upgraded computer systems processing increasingly complex data sets, punctuated by the occasional excited conversation as analysts discover new patterns. Your breakthrough comes when you start combining sales data with supply chain information to create something the fashion industry has never seen: predictive inventory management. Instead of just knowing what sold yesterday, you can anticipate what will sell tomorrow and ensure it's already in production or en route to stores. This predictive capability transforms your relationship with customers. They walk into stores expecting to find something new and interesting, and your data-driven production ensures that's exactly what happens. You're not just meeting customer expectations, you're creating a shopping experience where discovery and satisfaction are almost guaranteed. But the most significant change is how your technology affects your design process. Your design team now starts each season not with inspiration from fashion magazines or trend forecasting services, but with detailed analysis of what customers actually purchased when they purchased it and what they returned or exchanged. They're designing based on evidence rather than intuition. Notice the soft clicking of computer keyboards as designers input specifications for new items based on sales analysis rather than seasonal guesswork. This data-driven design process produces something remarkable: clothes that customers want to buy because they're based on refined versions of clothes that customers have already demonstrated they want to buy. Your hit rate, the percentage of new designs that sell well, is dramatically higher than industry averages because you're not guessing about customer preferences. Your European expansion accelerates as your technology provides insights about new markets before you enter them. By analysing tourist shopping patterns, cultural preferences expressed through media consumption, and economic indicators, you can predict with reasonable accuracy how your designs will perform in countries where you don't yet have stores. This predictive capability reduces the risk of international expansion dramatically. Instead of entering new markets blind and hoping your Spanish sensibilities translate well, you enter with data-supported expectations about local preferences, seasonal timing, and competitive positioning. You're not pioneering so much as you're following the data into logical expansion opportunities. Your success in using technology to understand and predict customer behaviour starts attracting attention from technology companies who want to understand how fashion retail can generate such precise customer insights. You're inadvertently becoming a case study in how traditional businesses can use emerging technologies to create competitive advantages. Listen to phone conversations with technology consultants who want to learn how you're processing customer data to inform business decisions in real time. But perhaps the most important insight from your technology revolution is about the nature of fashion itself. the data reveals that fashion isn't just about clothing, it's about identity, aspiration, and social signaling. Customers aren't just buying dresses and jackets, they're buying the feeling of being fashionable, current, and socially appropriate. This understanding changes how you think about inventory management. Instead of just tracking which specific items sell well, you start tracking which fashion statements customers are trying to make, which social signals they want to send, and which identity aspirations they're expressing through their purchases. The data shows that customers want to feel like they understand current fashion trends without having to become fashion experts. They want access to styles that make them feel confident and appropriate for their social and professional environments. Your role isn't just providing clothes, it's providing fashion fluency for people who don't have time to become fashion scholars. This insight leads to a customer service approach that will become central to ZARA's global appeal, making fashion accessible to everyone, regardless of their fashion knowledge or budget constraints. Your stores become places where customers can trust that everything available is current, appropriate, and reasonably priced. Your technology-driven understanding of customer behavior also reveals something crucial about global expansion. While specific style preferences vary between countries, the underlying desire for fashionable, current, accessible clothing is universal. The technology that helps you understand European customers can help you understand customers anywhere. The question that will guide your next phase of global growth: if data can reveal this much about fashion customer behavior, what happens when you apply these insights to markets nobody has ever analysed before? By 1998, your technology infrastructure has evolved from a simple sales tracking system into something that resembles the nervous system of a global fashion organism. You're standing in your command centre in A Coruña, surrounded by screens displaying real-time data from stores, production facilities, suppliers, and distribution centres across 3 continents. It looks like mission control for a space program, except you're launching fashion trends instead of rockets. The system now processes information so quickly that you can see sales patterns developing in real time and respond within hours instead of weeks. When a particular style starts selling rapidly in Milan, you can adjust production immediately and have additional inventory in Italian stores within days. When weather patterns shift unexpectedly in Northern Europe, you can redistribute appropriate clothing from southern regions where it's no longer needed. Listen to the orchestrated sounds of multiple communication systems, phones, fax machines, early internet connections, creating a symphony of international commerce coordination. Your technological capabilities have reached the point where you can conduct what amounts to fashion market experiments. You can test new designs in specific stores, analyze customer response within days, and either expand successful items to additional locations or discontinue unsuccessful ones before significant inventory accumulates. It's like having a laboratory for fashion hypotheses with real customers as willing test subjects. This experimental capability transforms your approach to risk management. Instead of betting entire seasons on design predictions, you can test continuously and scale up only what's working. Failed experiments cost you days of production time instead of months of inventory investment. Successful experiments can be scaled rapidly while demand is still strong. But the most revolutionary aspect of your technology infrastructure is how it changes your relationship with suppliers and manufacturers. Instead of traditional seasonal ordering, you can adjust production requirements, constantly based on actual demand patterns. Your suppliers become partners in a continuous production process rather than contractors for periodic large orders. Notice the soft mechanical sounds of automated inventory management systems, coordinating complex supply chains across multiple time zones and languages. This continuous production model requires suppliers who can handle variable order volumes, rapid design changes, and flexible delivery schedules. Many traditional textile manufacturers can't adapt to your requirements, so you start developing relationships with smaller, more agile suppliers who can match your technological sophistication and operational flexibility. Your supplier network becomes a competitive advantage as significant as your information systems. While competitors struggle with rigid production contracts and seasonal inventory commitments, you can adjust production mix, volume, and timing based on real market demands. You're operating a just-in-time manufacturing system for fashion, something the industry previously considered impossible. The technology also enables new forms of customer engagement. You can identify customers who frequently purchase certain styles and ensure those styles are available when they visit. You can track regional preferences so precisely that stores in different neighbourhoods within the same city can be stocked with inventory tailored to their specific customer demographics. Listen to the constant chatter of early internet connections as your systems begin communicating with point-of-sale terminals in stores, creating integrated data flow from customer purchases to production planning. Your technological sophistication attracts attention from business schools and consulting firms who want to understand how you're using information technology to create competitive advantages in traditional retail. You're becoming a case study in digital transformation before the term digital transformation exists. But perhaps the most important insight from your technology revolution is about scalability. The systems you've developed to manage 47 stores across 8 countries can theoretically manage hundreds of stores across dozens of countries. Your technological infrastructure has become the platform for global expansion, rather than a constraint that limits growth. This scalability insight changes your entire approach to international expansion. Instead of entering new markets cautiously and building local infrastructure gradually, you can leverage your existing technological capabilities to support rapid expansion. Your information systems become the foundation for global operations rather than something you build separately for each new market. The data also reveals something profound about globalization and consumer behavior. While customers in different countries have different specific preferences, they all respond similarly to novelty, quality, and appropriate pricing. Your technology helps you identify these universal patterns while adapting to local variations. Your success in using technology to understand and serve customers becomes a template for how traditional businesses can leverage emerging technologies to create new competitive advantages. You're not just succeeding in fashion retail, you're demonstrating how information technology can transform any customer-focused business. The question that will define your next decade of growth: if technology can make fashion retail this responsive and efficient, what happens when you apply it to global markets that have never experienced this level of customer service? The year 2000 arrives with Y2K panic everywhere, except in your A Coruña headquarters, where your computer systems transition seamlessly into the new millennium while processing sales data from stores across 4 continents. You're standing in what now resembles the bridge of a fashion starship, watching real-time information flow from over 500 locations worldwide, each contributing data points to the largest fashion retail intelligence network ever created. Your global expansion over the past 5 years has been less like traditional international business development and more like a systematic conquest of the world's fashion retail markets. Each new country you enter provides more data about human fashion behavior, which improves your ability to serve customers everywhere else. It's a virtuous cycle of global learning that makes each new expansion more successful than the last. Listen to the multilingual hum of international conference calls as teams coordinate operations across time zones that span from Tokyo to Los Angeles. The numbers tell a story that makes traditional fashion retailers question everything they thought they knew about their industry. You're now operating over 500 stores in 33 countries, with new locations opening at a rate of nearly 1 per week. Your sales per square foot exceed industry averages by margins that seem mathematically impossible. Your inventory turnover rates are so fast that financial analysts initially assumed there were calculation errors in your reports. But the most remarkable aspect of your global expansion isn't the speed, it's the consistency. ZARA stores in Tokyo serve Japanese customers with the same level of responsiveness and customer satisfaction as stores in Madrid serve Spanish customers. Your technology infrastructure allows you to adapt to local preferences while maintaining global operational efficiency. This consistency across vastly different markets proves something revolutionary about retail. Customer satisfaction isn't primarily about cultural adaptation, it's about operational excellence. Customers everywhere want the same fundamental things: quality products, fair prices, convenient access, and responsive service. The specific products may vary, but the service expectations are universal. Notice the soft clicking of keyboards as analysts process customer feedback data from surveys conducted in over 20 languages, identifying universal satisfaction patterns. Your global data collection reveals fascinating insights about human fashion behavior that would have been impossible to discover within a single market. You learn that seasonal timing varies not just by climate, but by cultural calendar differences. you discover that colour preferences correlate with local architecture and natural landscapes. You find that style preferences reflect economic confidence levels and social mobility aspirations. These insights allow you to anticipate market demands with precision that seems almost supernatural to competitors. When economic conditions in a region become uncertain, you can predict increased demand for versatile professional clothing that helps people project confidence and competence. When local cultural events approach, you can ensure appropriate inventory is available without excessive promotional marketing. Your global success also changes how you think about competition. Traditional fashion retailers compete primarily on brand recognition, seasonal collections, and marketing sophistication. You compete on operational excellence, customer responsiveness, and continuous market learning. You're playing a different game with different rules and different success metrics. The traditional fashion industry responds to your success with a combination of attempted imitation and defensive dismissal. Some competitors try to copy your rapid production model, but they lack the technological infrastructure and organizational culture necessary to make it work effectively. Others dismiss your approach as unsustainable, predicting that quality will suffer or cost will become prohibitive. Listen to the sound of international fashion magazines being delivered as journalists struggle to understand and explain your business model to traditional fashion industry audiences. But your global data proves that rapid response fashion retail isn't just sustainable. It's more profitable than traditional seasonal approaches. Your ability to adjust inventory, pricing, and product mix based on real-time demand allows you to maintain higher profit margins while providing better customer value. You're not just disrupting traditional fashion retail, you're demonstrating that traditional approaches were inefficient rather than necessary. Your success in diverse global markets also validates something important about technology and business strategy. The information systems you developed to serve Spanish customers work equally well for customers in Asia, North America, and Latin America. Technology that solves fundamental business problems can scale globally regardless of cultural differences. Perhaps most importantly, your global expansion proves that small companies with innovative approaches can compete successfully against established multinational corporations. You're not winning through superior capital resources or market power. You're winning through better information, faster decision-making, and more responsive customer service. The question that guides your continued expansion: if rapid response fashion retail works this well, across such diverse global markets, what other industries might benefit from similar approaches to customer data and operational responsiveness? Your global dominance reaches a tipping point in 2001 when you realize that ZARA has become more than a fashion retailer. You've accidentally created a new category of consumer experience that doesn't have a name yet. You're standing in a flagship store in New York City, watching American customers navigate your inventory with the same enthusiasm and purchasing behavior you've observed in dozens of other countries, confirming something remarkable about human nature and global commerce. The store is located on Fifth Avenue, surrounded by fashion retailers that have been serving New York customers for decades. But customers aren't just shopping at ZARA. They're visiting ZARA like it's entertainment, browsing through constantly changing inventory, discovering new items, and making purchases based on immediate desire rather than planned shopping lists. You've created shopping as spontaneous pleasure rather than necessary task. Listen to the excited conversations of customers in multiple languages as they discover items they didn't know they wanted until they saw them available immediately. Your New York success validates something crucial about global consumer behavior that contradicts traditional international business wisdom. American customers, supposedly sophisticated about fashion and demanding about service, respond to your Spanish fast fashion model exactly like customers everywhere else. The fundamental appeal of fashionable, affordable, immediately available clothing transcends cultural differences. This validation encourages you to accelerate expansion into markets that traditional fashion wisdom would consider challenging or inappropriate for your approach. Asian markets with different body proportions and style preferences, Latin American markets with different economic constraints, Middle Eastern markets with different cultural clothing requirements. Each market teaches you something new while confirming universal patterns in consumer behavior. Your global data collection has now reached a scale that allows you to identify patterns in human fashion behavior that individual market research could never detect. You can track how fashion trends move between cities, how economic conditions affect consumer spending patterns, and how cultural events influence style preferences across continents. It's like having a fashion weather map for the entire planet, except instead of predicting rain, you're predicting what hemlines people will want next Tuesday. This global intelligence network reveals something remarkable about human behaviour that contradicts most assumptions about cultural differences and fashion preferences. While customers in Tokyo prefer different colours than customers in Sao Paulo, they both respond identically to the psychological triggers of novelty, quality, and social appropriateness. It's like discovering that people everywhere speak different languages but all laugh at the same jokes. Listen to the soft whir of international data transmission lines, carrying customer preference information across oceans in real time. Your success in diverse global markets also validates your technology-driven approach to inventory management. The same systems that optimize stock levels in Madrid work equally well in Mexico City, Mumbai, and Montreal. Cultural adaptation happens at the product level, what you stock, but operational excellence happens at the systems level, how you stock it. This insight leads to your most ambitious expansion yet, entering markets that traditional fashion wisdom considers impossible for Western retailers. You open stores in countries where local fashion preferences seem completely incompatible with European sensibilities, economic conditions appear unsuitable for premium pricing, and cultural differences suggest your business model won't translate. Every single one of these impossible markets succeeds beyond projections. Customers in every country respond to the same fundamental value proposition: fashionable clothes, available immediately at fair prices, with constantly changing inventory that makes shopping feel like discovery rather than necessity. Notice the satisfied sounds of cash registers, processing sales in dozens of languages as your global expansion validates universal principles of customer satisfaction. Your global success creates something unprecedented in fashion retail: a real-time global fashion intelligence system that can identify emerging trends anywhere in the world and capitalize on them everywhere else within weeks. When customers in one country start gravitating towards specific styles, colors, or silhouettes, you can test similar options in other markets before competitors even realize the trend exists. This global trend intelligence becomes a competitive advantage so significant that other retailers can't compete even when they try to copy your operational approaches. They're playing checkers while you're playing three-dimensional chess across multiple continents simultaneously. But perhaps the most important insight from your global expansion is about the nature of globalization itself. The world isn't becoming more homogeneous, it's becoming more efficiently diverse. People everywhere want access to global fashion trends, but they want them adapted to their local preferences, economic conditions, and cultural contexts. Your technology infrastructure allows you to provide exactly this combination: global sophistication with local relevance, international quality with neighborhood convenience, worldwide fashion intelligence with personal customer service. The question that will define your final phase of growth. If you can provide this level of customer satisfaction across such diverse global markets, who could possibly compete with you? By 2005, you're operating over 2,000 stores across 64 countries, and you've accidentally solved a problem that economists and business theorists have been debating for decades: how to achieve true global scale while maintaining local responsiveness. You're standing in your expanded A Coruña headquarters, now resembling something between a NASA mission control center and the world's most sophisticated fashion laboratory. The walls are covered with screens displaying real-time data from stores that span every time zone, climate, and economic condition on Earth. Sales information flows in constantly from locations as diverse as a shopping mall in suburban Detroit and a street-front boutique in downtown Mumbai. Each data point contributes to a global understanding of human fashion behavior that no single company has ever possessed before. Listen to the orchestrated symphony of international commerce, phones ringing in multiple languages, keyboards clicking as analysts process global sales patterns, and the soft hum of cooling systems managing servers that never sleep. Your global intelligence system can now predict fashion trends with an accuracy that seems supernatural to competitors and customers alike. When temperatures rise unexpectedly in Northern Europe, you can redistribute lightweight clothing from Mediterranean stores within days. When economic conditions tighten in one region, you can adjust pricing and product mix before local competitors realize market conditions have changed. But the most remarkable aspect of your global operation isn't the scale, it's the consistency. A customer walking into a ZARA store in Tokyo has fundamentally the same experience as a customer in Toronto, despite completely different languages, cultures, and local fashion contexts. You've created something that didn't exist before, a global retail experience that feels local everywhere. This consistency across vastly different markets proves something revolutionary about customer expectations and business operations. Excellence in customer service transcends cultural differences. People everywhere want the same fundamental things from retail: quality products, fair prices, convenient access, and responsive service that makes them feel valued and understood. Notice the gentle whir of climate control systems maintaining perfect conditions for the servers that coordinate global fashion operations across 6 continents. Your success also demonstrates that global businesses can compete against local competitors by being more local than the local competitors themselves. Your data-driven understanding of regional preferences allows you to stock each store with inventory that matches local tastes more precisely than retailers who rely on seasonal guesswork and traditional market research. This hyper-local customization within a global system creates customer loyalty that transcends brand preference. Customers don't just shop at ZARA because they like your clothes. They shop at ZARA because you consistently have clothes they like, available when they want them, at prices they consider reasonable. Your global expansion has also created something unprecedented in business history: a real-time laboratory for studying human consumer behavior across every economic, cultural, and geographic condition on Earth. Your data reveals patterns in fashion preferences, seasonal timing, economic sensitivity, and social behavior that universities and research institutions have never been able to access. These insights inform not just your inventory decisions, but your understanding of how global markets actually function. You've discovered that economic conditions affect fashion preferences in predictable ways, that cultural events influence style choices according to measurable patterns, and that social media trends translate into purchase behavior with mathematical precision. Listen to the soft clicking of keyboards as researchers analyze global fashion data to identify patterns that predict everything from seasonal color preferences to the economic impact of cultural events on clothing sales. Your global intelligence network also reveals something profound about human nature and globalization. While people in different countries have different specific preferences, they all share the same underlying desires: to feel appropriate for their social and professional environments, to express their personality through their appearance choices, and to access fashionable options without financial stress. This universal understanding of customer motivation allows you to adapt your offerings to local markets while maintaining global operational efficiency. You're not just selling clothes, you're providing fashion confidence to people everywhere, regardless of their cultural background or economic circumstances. But perhaps the most important insight from your global success is about the future of retail itself. Traditional businesses compete by defending market share within specific geographic regions. You compete by creating customer value that makes geographic boundaries irrelevant. You're not just a Spanish company that operates globally, you're a global solution to universal customer needs that happens to be headquartered in Spain. Your competitors are finally beginning to understand that you're not just successful, you're playing an entirely different game with different rules and different success metrics. They're trying to compete with you using strategies designed for regional retail competition, while you're operating a global customer satisfaction system that transcends traditional competitive frameworks. The question that will define the legacy of everything you've built: how do you maintain this level of customer focus and operational excellence while continuing to grow at a pace that challenges every assumption about sustainable business expansion? It's 2010, and you're standing at the center of something that no longer resembles a fashion retail company. It looks more like the nerve center of a global consumer intelligence operation that happens to sell clothes. Your A Coruña headquarters now spans multiple buildings connected by underground tunnels, creating a complex that processes more real-time customer data than most governments collect about their citizens. You've reached a scale that breaks traditional business mathematics. Over 5,000 stores across 77 countries, generating sales that exceed the GDP of most nations, employing hundreds of thousands of people who speak dozens of languages, but all understand the same fundamental principle: give customers what they want, when they want it, at prices they consider reasonable. It sounds simple enough to fit on a business card, but executing it requires technology infrastructure that would make tech companies jealous. Listen to the constant hum of global operations, satellite communications linking continents, servers processing millions of daily transactions, and the soft background chatter of coordination meetings conducted in real time across every time zone on Earth. Your global fashion intelligence system has evolved beyond tracking sales and inventory. It now monitors social media trends, economic indicators, weather patterns, cultural events, and celebrity influence across every market you serve. You can predict with mathematical precision how a fashion trend will spread from Milan to Mumbai, calculate the economic impact of seasonal weather variations on clothing demand, and adjust production schedules based on political events that might affect consumer spending patterns. This predictive capability gives you something that didn't exist in retail before: the ability to satisfy customer demand before customers fully realize what they want. You're not just responding to market trends, you're identifying emerging patterns and positioning inventory to meet demand that hasn't fully materialized yet. It's like being able to see slightly into the future, except instead of stock market movements, you're predicting what people will want to wear next week. But the most remarkable aspect of your global success isn't the technology or the scale. It's how you've fundamentally changed customer expectations for the entire fashion industry. Before ZARA, customers accepted that fashionable clothing was expensive, that current styles were available only in major fashion capitals, and that getting exactly what you wanted required patience, compromise, or significant financial investment. Notice the soft scratch of stylist pencils as they sketch designs based on real-time global trend analysis rather than seasonal predictions made months in advance. Now customers everywhere expect immediate access to current fashion trends at reasonable prices, constantly changing inventory that makes shopping feel like discovery, and customer service that responds to their actual preferences rather than what retailers think they should want. You've accidentally reset the baseline for what constitutes acceptable retail service, and every other fashion company is scrambling to catch up. Your influence extends far beyond retail into how fashion trends themselves develop and spread. Designers at luxury fashion houses now monitor ZARA stores to see how quickly their runway concepts translate into accessible fashion, because your speed of adaptation has become the industry standard for measuring market acceptance of new styles. Fashion magazines write about the ZARA effect on global style democratization. Business schools teach case studies about your supply chain innovation. Technology companies study your data management systems to understand how retail businesses can leverage customer intelligence for competitive advantage. But you've also created something more subtle and perhaps more important. You've proven that businesses can grow to enormous scale while maintaining obsessive focus on individual customer satisfaction. Your global success demonstrates that size doesn't require sacrificing responsiveness, that efficiency doesn't mean sacrificing quality, and that profitability doesn't require sacrificing customer value. Listen to the gentle ping of notifications as stores worldwide report sales data that gets processed instantly into production decisions, creating a continuous feedback loop between customer desires and business response. This customer-focused approach to global business has influenced how other industries think about expansion and competition. You've shown that winning in global markets isn't about overwhelming local competitors with superior resources. It's about understanding and serving customers so well that competitive advantages become irrelevant. Your employees now work for something larger than a fashion retailer. They work for a global system that democratizes fashion access and creates customer value at unprecedented scale. The pride they take in this mission shows in everything from store presentation to customer interaction to the continuous innovation that keeps your operations ahead of competitors who are still trying to copy what you were doing 5 years ago. Perhaps most importantly, you've demonstrated that businesses built on genuine customer value can achieve sustainable growth that benefits everyone involved. Customers get better products and service, employees get opportunities for meaningful work and career development, communities get economic development and tax revenue, and shareholders get returns that justify their investment. The question that will define how history remembers everything you've built, having proven that customer-focused business can succeed at global scale, what responsibility do you have to help other industries learn these same principles? Your global dominance reaches a philosophical inflection point in 2015 when you realise that ZARA has become more than a business. It's become a case study in how customer obsession can reshape entire industries. You're sitting in a conference room filled with executives from companies that have nothing to do with fashion, tech firms, automotive manufacturers, healthcare providers, financial services companies, all wanting to understand how you've maintained such precise customer focus while operating at unprecedented global scale. The irony isn't lost on you. 30 years ago, you were trying to figure out how to make clothes faster than your father's traditional tailoring methods. Now Fortune 500 companies are sending their leadership teams to A Coruña to learn principles of customer responsiveness that you developed out of simple impatience with how long everything took in the fashion industry. Listen to the international symphony of business languages as executives from different industries try to understand how customer data can drive operational decisions in real time. Your influence on global business practices extends far beyond retail. Manufacturing companies study your supply chain responsiveness to understand how they can reduce time to market for new products. Technology firms analyze your data processing systems to learn how customer intelligence can inform product development. Service industries examine your customer feedback loops to improve their own responsiveness to changing consumer preferences. But the most significant impact of your global success might be how you've changed customer expectations across all industries. People who experience ZARA's level of responsiveness and customer focus begin expecting similar service from their banks, their healthcare providers, their technology companies, and their government services. You've accidentally raised the baseline for what constitutes acceptable customer service in the modern world. This elevated expectation creates pressure for improvement across every customer-facing industry. Companies that previously considered quarterly customer feedback adequate now need monthly data. Businesses that used to plan annual product updates now need continuous innovation cycles. Organizations that relied on demographic generalizations now need individual customer intelligence. Notice the soft mechanical sounds of global logistics coordination. Container ships being loaded, cargo planes taking off, delivery trucks navigating city streets, all moving inventory based on real-time customer demand analysis. Your global operations have also become a laboratory for understanding how technology can enhance rather than replace human customer service. While your systems process enormous amounts of data and automate complex logistical decisions, the actual customer experience still depends on human employees who understand that customer satisfaction isn't just about efficient transactions. It's about making people feel valued and understood. This balance between technological sophistication and human touch has become a model for how businesses can leverage automation to improve customer service rather than reducing it to purely transactional interactions. Your stores demonstrate that technology should amplify human capability, not substitute for human judgment and emotional intelligence. Your success has also created something unprecedented in global business, a retail operation that serves as a cultural bridge between different societies. Customers in conservative cultures and liberal societies, developing economies and established markets, urban centres and rural communities all find value in your approach to fashion accessibility and customer service. This cross-cultural appeal proves something important about globalization. Success comes from understanding universal human needs and adapting service delivery to local contexts, not from imposing uniform solutions regardless of cultural differences. You've shown that global businesses can respect diversity while maintaining operational consistency. Listen to the quiet conversations of store managers from different countries sharing insights about local customer preferences during international training sessions, creating a global network of cultural intelligence. Your global footprint has also demonstrated that responsible business growth can create positive economic impact in every market you enter. Local employment, tax revenue, supplier relationships, and community investment have made ZARA welcome in countries where many international businesses struggle with cultural resistance or economic nationalism. This positive reception reflects something crucial about how global businesses can earn social license to operate, by creating genuine value for local customers and communities, rather than just extracting profit for distant shareholders. Your long-term thinking about market development has created sustainable competitive advantages that benefit everyone involved. But perhaps the most important legacy of your global expansion is how you've proven that customer-focused businesses can achieve massive scale without losing the entrepreneurial responsiveness that made them successful initially. You've maintained the startup mentality of constant learning and rapid adaptation, even while operating one of the world's largest retail networks. This combination of scale and agility has become a model for how businesses can grow without becoming bureaucratic, how they can expand internationally without losing touch with local customer needs, and how they can leverage technology without sacrificing human judgment and creativity. The question that will determine whether your business model influences the next generation of global companies: how do you ensure that the principles that made you successful can be maintained as new leadership takes responsibility for continued growth? As you approach 2020, you're witnessing something that feels like watching your child graduate from university and start changing the world. ZARA has evolved beyond anything you imagined when you first got frustrated with your father's slow tailoring methods. You're standing in a flagship store in Tokyo, watching customers from dozens of countries browse through inventory that was designed in Spain, manufactured across multiple continents, and delivered based on sales data collected globally, all coordinated by systems that process customer preferences faster than most people can decide what they want for lunch. The numbers surrounding your global operation have reached scales that require new mathematical descriptions. Over 7,000 stores in 96 countries, processing millions of customer transactions daily, employing hundreds of thousands of people, generating revenue that exceeds the economic output of most nations. But statistics can't capture the most important achievement. You've created a business that improves the lives of everyone it touches: customers, employees, suppliers, communities, and shareholders. Listen to the gentle sounds of satisfied customers speaking dozens of languages as they discover exactly what they were looking for, available immediately at prices that feel reasonable regardless of their economic circumstances. Your global success has fundamentally altered how the fashion industry operates. Traditional seasonal cycles have given way to continuous product development. Geographic market boundaries have become irrelevant for trend transmission. Customer research has evolved from demographic guessing to real-time behavioral analysis. Fashion democratization has progressed from luxury trickle-down theories to immediate global accessibility. But your influence extends far beyond fashion into how businesses think about customer relationships, operational efficiency, and global responsibility. You've demonstrated that customer obsession isn't just good marketing. It's a sustainable competitive strategy that creates value for everyone involved in the business ecosystem. The principles you developed through trial and error while building ZARA have become standard practice across multiple industries: real-time customer data analysis, rapid response to market changes, vertical integration for quality control, global coordination with local adaptation, and continuous innovation based on customer feedback. Notice the soft whir of mobile devices as customers use technology to extend their shopping experience beyond your physical stores, creating seamless integration between digital and physical retail environments. Your business model has also proven something important about globalization and economic development. International businesses can create positive impact in every market they enter by focusing on genuine customer value rather than pure profit extraction. Your approach to global expansion has created employment, developed local supplier networks, contributed tax revenue, and raised service standards in every country where you operate. This responsible approach to international business has earned ZARA acceptance and success in markets where many global companies face resistance or failure. You've shown that cultural sensitivity and operational excellence aren't competing priorities. They're complementary approaches that reinforce each other when properly executed. Your global network has also created something unprecedented in business history: a real-time laboratory for understanding human behavior across every economic, cultural, and geographic condition on Earth. The insights generated by your customer intelligence systems contribute to understanding of consumer psychology, economic patterns, cultural trends, and social behavior that extends far beyond retail applications. Universities study your business model to understand supply chain management, customer relationship strategies, international business development, and technology integration. governments examine your economic impact assessments to understand how international businesses can contribute to local development while maintaining global competitiveness. Listen to the satisfied sounds of a global operation running smoothly, inventory moving efficiently between locations, customer preferences being translated into production decisions, and employees worldwide working toward the same customer-focused objectives. Perhaps most importantly, you've created a business culture that maintains entrepreneurial energy and customer focus despite massive scale and global complexity. Your employees understand that their daily work contributes to something larger than profit generation. They're part of a system that democratizes fashion access and creates positive experiences for millions of customers worldwide. This sense of purpose shows in everything from store presentation to customer interaction to continuous innovation that keeps your operations ahead of competitors who are still trying to copy approaches you've already evolved beyond. Your team works with the knowledge that customer satisfaction isn't just a business metric. It's the foundation for sustainable success and positive global impact. As you reflect on the journey from your father's small tailor shop to global fashion leadership, the most remarkable aspect isn't the scale of what you've built, but how consistently you've maintained focus on the simple principle that started everything. Give customers what they want, when they want it, at prices they consider reasonable. Listen to the quiet satisfaction of customers leaving your stores with exactly what they were looking for, knowing they can return next week to discover something new and equally satisfying. The question that will define your legacy isn't whether ZARA will continue to succeed. It's whether the principles you've demonstrated can inspire the next generation of business leaders to build companies that create genuine value for customers while achieving sustainable global success. After all, the most revolutionary aspect of your global fashion empire isn't that you changed how clothes are made and sold, it's that you proved customer obsession can scale globally while maintaining the personal touch that makes every shopping experience feel like a discovery. That might be the most valuable lesson you can leave for anyone crazy enough to think they can change how an entire industry operates. Would you have started this journey if you knew it would require 40 years of constantly evolving to stay ahead of customer expectations? Or would you have just learned to appreciate your father's patient approach to making one perfect jacket at a time? Comment below if you'd want to build a global empire or if you'd rather master one perfect craft.